Hello and welcome to this episode of the Mixtape podcast. This is where we take a deep dive into the inspirations and influences of my guest as I ask them to select 6 tracks for their imaginary mixtape. Track 1 is an attention grabber. Track 2 is a song they sing in the car or the shower. Track 3 is a cover version. For track 4, I'll ask them to pick a song they wish they could have played to their 18-year-old selves. Track 5 is a song they would use to woo someone. Track 6 is a track that my guest feels doesn't get the attention or recognition that it deserves. If you'd like to support the creation of this podcast, it's patreon.com/mixtape podcast, or you can check out the link in the description below. You can join for free or subscribe for as little as $2 a month. There's lots of other Patreon-only content on there, including the opportunity to ask guests a question and to have a personalised mixtape playlist curated by yours truly. There's lots of other ways you can support me, a like or a follow on social media. Again, there's links in the description for that. Or if you are listening on Spotify, you can smash the follow icon or you can rate the podcast. All of these little things go a long way towards growing the platform, and I really, really appreciate it. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy this episode. Hello and welcome to this mixtape for KCR 102.5 FM and the mixtapepodcast.com. Joining me today, it's Jay from Beans on Toast. How are you, Jay?
Very well, sir. Yeah, very well. Thanks for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure, mate. I really appreciate you making the time. So you're coming to Australia pretty much for the month of January. You're going to be in Australia, mate. There's a lot of live dates. I won't read them all out because there's quite a lot of them, but the significant one for WA and Perth folks is the 15th of January. You'll be at the Bird in Northbridge. The rest of the dates you can find on beansontoastmusic.com, tickets and everything else. How long since you were in Australia, Jay? Been a while?
Last January. Yeah, this will be my 4th trip out, but the last 2 years I've been out in January, and I'm making a bit of a tradition for it. The Melbourne and the Sydney shows are both at the same venue. Basically 2 years ago, and in mid toward the end of Jan, I went out. I did Sydney at the Vanguard and then Melbourne at the Gasso. And it was just such a great time for me. There's not many gigs in January in the UK. And obviously it's cold, wet and windy, middle of winter here. And it's like, I out, slide out in the dead of night and then fly over to the sunshine. And I love that trip so much. Last year, I just went back, did exactly the same venues, exactly the same date. And I was just like, certainly in Melbourne, I was wearing the same bloody T-shirt as I had the year before. And it was just like, did at the same restaurant, same people came. And it was just like, let's just make a fucking tradition out of it, basically. We booked I walk out. It's such a great, I love playing Australia. I love the crowds and just the feel of them cities. So it was just like, let's just book it again for next year. And then we're just trying to expand a little bit each time. So, I mean, I've been copping shit for not playing in Perth and Adelaide. Like for every time I announce like what I'm doing in Melbourne or Sydney, I just get grief. And it's like, I'm trying. It's not that I don't want to come. I'm trying. And I know. This year we made it work. And it's like, so I'm doing a headline show in Perth and Adelaide. And I'm also doing the Signet Folk Festival in Tasmania on this trip, which is first time in Tasmania. And I've done a festival called Dashville, but it'll be my first kind of big folk festival out in Australia, which is a road that I'd love to walk down as well. Again, because I play non-stop music festivals here over the summer, but if I can come to Australia and play more, then I will, basically.
Yeah. No, we get a bit of a rough trot in Perth quite often with people not stopping here. And I think I wouldn't say I've got insider knowledge to the industry that much, but I do understand the logistics and the cost and everything else of adding in a Perth date. Like it can be, a bit of a hassle. And I know from chatting to other people and people who put on festivals and stuff, like the Big Day Out Festival, for example, that isn't on anymore. I know that the Eastern States dates of that subsidised the Perth leg of it. They didn't make no money on the Perth leg of the Big Day Out Festival because of all the logistics and the transport and all the rest of it. But a lot
they're probably just doing it so people didn't give them hell.
a lot of people don't understand that. Do you know what I mean? And
I'm easy with it. It's nice to feel wanted. Like, I'm certainly
mm.
not complaining about people asking for me to go somewhere and play. It was just logistically we hadn't been able to make it work, and it was like you got to make sure that these things do work. So it's a bit slowly, but now, yeah, I feel really comfortable out there. A lot of my sort of door to Australia has been through William Crichton. Really, he's Aussie folk singer. We met at Boomtown here in the UK and became friends, and since then we're like brothers, basically, sort of musical brothers. And it's real, like, he's coming over to the UK to play a tour with me. I do some shows with him, and just I stay with his family when I'm out there and stuff like that. And again, him with mine. So I'll do them run of headline shows, and then I fly and then after the Sydney show, I'll be with William traveling around New South Wales, playing some places that sometimes. The first tour I did with William, when I put that on sale and promoted that, a lot of people were like, mate, I'm born and raised in Australia. I haven't heard of 6 of these places. Where the hell are you gigging? Why aren't you playing Perth? And why are you playing places no one's ever heard of? But it's so seeing that part of the country has been really beautiful. And that's the same this time round. And we're going to like Tumut and Grenfell, a lot of like inland towns or around New South Wales. And that means you can drive it. And it feels like the end bit feels like a bit, not just getting on a long flight and then singing about environmental issues in the evening, which is
yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Which is a cross that I must bear. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You talked about tradition there just before, about going back and doing the same thing year on year. I want to talk to you about, obviously, the new album Wild Goose Chasers came out on the 1st of December. And I didn't know this about you, but when I done a bit of research yesterday and this evening, I saw that you release your album on the same day every year, December the 1st.
Yeah.
That can't just be like a cashing in on the Christmas market move. There must be something more significant to it than that.
No. Yeah, there is. It's actually my birthday as well, which we now is strange because the kind of one album a year thing it's like a tale of two halves, really. It happened quite naturally to begin with. Many moons ago, when my first album came out, it was really just a sort of bums on seats thing. I was at that start as a new artist where when you start playing live, your friends come to watch you. Friends and family will come together. They won't necessarily be there for the music, but your crowd of mates. And that's only ever going to last so long. And then you need that to be replaced by people that you don't know that then like your music, that come to your gigs. And I was just sitting on the fence in between those two bits. So I was like, I'm going to do an album launch and a birthday party. And then my mates will come back and people will come to gig and we'll fill the room and it'll be like a proper album launch. And that was the kind of mindset. And that was the mindset then. And it was also because I had a tour around that time. So it was just like, it just came out and the birthday seemed like a good thing. A year later, I had another album. It was ready around the same time. And it was like, let's just do it again. Let's just do it on the same date again. It worked last time. And then again, once we did it 3 years, it was a tradition. And then it was like, so there's that side of it. And it's turned into a bit of a quirky thing. It's an easy thing to talk about in press releases and in interviews like this, which sometimes can take a bit of a spotlight away from the music. And this album was also album 17, which is a lot by anybody's sort of measuring. 17 albums is a lot. And sometimes that feels, is it just like quantity over quality vibe? But on the other side of it, there's like, it's really worked out for me because one, I'm a creature of habit, and 2, I really like these annual things. So there's a lot of, like I mentioned, Boomtown Festival. I've played Boomtown Festival every year since for 15 years. And like, acts just don't get that in festivals. But there's a lot of festivals. Why not festivals? There's a few festivals. And at least they know when they book me every year, they know that. Yeah, exactly. I've been playing Glastonbury every year since I started doing this. So I'm up for doing, if I like something, I'll do it every year. These things that happen every year. And it's like now I can plan my years well in advance. So I can finish my show at the Gasso in Melbourne and be like, let's just book in the 3rd Saturday of January next year. I'll come back, book it in. I know I got to get in the studio in May in order to have my album ready for December, all printed on vinyl. And there's actually a weird sort of like business sense to it. And also with this sort of, it's a tradition. There's a lot of people know now when the albums come in, and there'll be 2 UK tours. I don't know how else. If I didn't have anything any songs, then I wouldn't put an album out. But it also feels like my complete natural output to each year is just work towards having an album. A lot of the time, certainly in my early years, I'd sing about current events. And when you're singing about current events, your songs are gonna have a shelf life. If you got songs that mention the current prime minister, certainly in the UK in the last few years, some of them only last a couple of weeks. So it's like your songs drop off pretty quickly. And I'm not, so I'm always writing and always moving forward. So that's just turned into how I release my music and how I plan my years and my tours. Yeah. So it's all very much an annual event, basically.
I've spoken to a lot of musicians and songwriters who they know themselves, they overthink, they put too much thought and tweaking and mastering and whatnot with their recording process. Do you find it helps you with that, where you don't have to overthink?
I'm just not that person, basically. I never have been. I'd say 99% of the songs that I write, I will release. I'll just be like, okay, if it finished it, that to me is it's already passed as a bar. I try and work with different musicians. I do work with different musicians and a different producer for every album to make sure that it's got a different, and I'll generally try and put a bit of a feel to it. Certainly the last few albums have had a sort of overarching lyrical theme to them and stuff like that. So it can be presented as a whole album. But it's never in the studio. I'll book it for however long I think the album needs. Like this recent one was one day. The one before was a week. But whatever is done at the end of that recorded session will be the album. And that's the mentality I go into the studio with. I've worked with producers. They're like, if we don't get it now, we can just come back to it next week. And that's not happening. Like we're getting it done now because with mainly the backlog on getting vinyl printed these days. I used to record in August and it could come out in December, but those days are long gone. It needs to be mixed, mastered, and in the bag to send off in June in order for me to have vinyl out ready for the day of release, which is fine. Just moved over COVID. I shuffled my traditions around and moved the studio time a little bit earlier. But again, I don't know whether that makes it quantity over quality, but to me, an album a year. If there was, I'd put out more music if I could, to be honest. But I think you don't want to just people. I love songwriting, and every time I sit alone with a guitar, I write a song, basically.
So the new album, Wild Goose Chasers, I don't think, I might be wrong, but I don't think I heard much guitar on it, if any at all. It's mostly piano.
It's all piano. That was the kind of theme of the album, was that it was recorded under a full moon in one take as well. So we got the Libertine studio, the Albion Rooms in Margate, hired it out. So my friend Jason, who's producing it, just mic'd up a piano to like beyond belief, and then went in there really well rehearsed. Songs all written on guitar, and Matt I've been playing with for years, who's a fantastic piano player. And we've been working together for a decade. Always talked about doing this kind of collaborative album. So he scored all the music, took it away from my free chords into sort of, I don't know, like classical realm almost. And just with the fact that we were so well rehearsed, we went in and we've been playing together for years. So it was just like, just get every song bang and just mic it up and then just get a feel for it and get it down. And that's why it was one night session recording that. And that was, again, that's a way of make sure each album doesn't feel like the last through the musicianship. And again, so lyrically, this album, it wasn't about current events. This album was more digging into the bigger picture and meaning of life. And dare I say it, like spiritual, like hippy dippy stuff, basically. But it's weird because I was like, as I was writing it and recording it, I was like dead set on it. And then we've been touring it because we did the half of the UK tour already. And it was like, I found myself just ripping the shit out of myself for it nonstop. After, in hindsight, it's like, there's something really crass about being like, this is a dead spiritual song. When recording it, I was genuinely thinking about the moon and the star and like the meaning of life on earth and who are we as beings. And it was great for that. But then standing on stage and saying it, I was just fucking hell. It sounded like, what lofty bullshit. And I found myself like 3 gigs in, just ripping the shit out of myself, which I think probably made it easy. I like to think that amongst that, I can still dig into where I was during some of the songs, but I guess no one wants to hear I certainly don't think I wanted to present it that way. So the gigs are still a lot more like a beans on toast, laid back gig. I just got
Sure.
a necklace which made me look a bit more spiritual.
You fitting right well in Perth, especially Fremantle. I remember just when you use that phrase hippy dippy, then that's the phrase that my partner uses all the time. And recently we were at the beach in Fremantle, just watching the sunset, and it was lovely, and we're having a couple of cold beers. And then as the sun went down, this group of people who had gathered on the beach were like applauding the sunset. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, mate, I'm up for that. Yeah, that's my crowd right there. I cheer it coming up as well.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah, it was brilliant. All right, Jay, just one quick question. This is just for me more than anyone else, just to try and save myself some postage if I can. Are you bringing vinyl and t-shirts on tour or not?
Yes, I
Okay.
hope so. I sent a big box. I've got a friend at Rudderless Records in Newcastle.
Yeah.
So I sent him one big fuck off box with
Right.
each individual show all dressed up. So hopefully it's going to land with him and then he'll send it out. And ideally, when I arrive to the venue, to the Bird,
Yeah.
like week after next, there'll be a box there. So there will be 90% sure. If the box arrives, there'll be some, but it's limited because of
Yeah, no, it's always a tough one when you're touring like you are and bringing merch over. I saw, do you know Fink, Fink? Fink, he's a
yeah,
UK
yeah.
singer-songwriter. I saw him in Perth. That's quite a long story how that came. I'll tell you the story though. Fuck it.
Go on.
I'm only going to work after this, so it don't matter. I interviewed Finn for the podcast and the radio show, and I've been a massive fan for donkey's years, like since the very first album. And he was talking about, he gave us a really good insight into what it's like to tour. And he talked about health insurance and for him and the crew and visas and sort of things that you
Right,
don't
yeah.
always think about. Do you know what I mean? As a punter. And he was saying, if you're going to go all through that and you're going to fly as far as somewhere like UK to Australia, why would you just play Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane? Do you know what I mean? Why wouldn't you get out there and
Spread it
do whatever?
around. Yeah, fair
So I
dues.
was like, oh, that's fantastic. Like, whatever you do, don't skip Perth. That's great. I can't wait for you to announce that tour, blah, blah, blah. And then he announced the tour, Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. And I was like, I was this close to going off in the comment section. I thought, I ain't going to do that. And I nearly clipped the bit of the podcast and put it in the comments where he's talking about playing everywhere. But I thought, no, don't do that because we got on quite well. And I think he's a really nice fella. But I saw that he was touring with So Far Sounds, who I'm sure you're familiar with.
I know
Um,
them. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
and I know the guy who runs So Far Sounds in Perth. So I tagged him in the comments and I was like, geezer, sort it out. Like, what's
Get him
going
in there.
on?
Yeah.
And then he messaged me and he said, I'm onto it. Don't worry. And then 48 hours later, he went, we've got a deal. He's coming to Perth. And I was like, oh, magic. Brilliant. I was so chuffed. And then not only that, I got to meet him. We hung out at the beach for a bit when he came here. And then the Paul from So Far asked me if I would introduce him on stage when he came to Perth. And as a fan, that was me peak. I was just buzzing off that. But anyway, the point of the story is
The
he
moral
got
is don't kick off in the Facebook comments, isn't
yeah,
it?
exactly
Already.
right. Yeah, don't be a dick in the Facebook comments. Yeah.
Yeah.
But the point I was getting to was he's good friends with I think the guy's name's Luke, and the company's called Impressed Recordings, I think. And he had 200 tour edition vinyl albums pressed in Australia. And so
Right. Yeah.
he
Sure.
didn't have to do all that distribution and stuff
Bringing them
like
over.
you're
Yeah.
doing. And it was like a limited edition 200 run, and he signed them at the show as well. And yeah, and that was fantastic. Like I was
Yeah, I
so
think
stoked.
Ben at Rudderless has offered a lot of help, and it's really he could distribute my stuff quite so that the postage isn't. I'll probably get another box sent over after this tour, and then I think we did it for the last record where there was
Yeah,
100 you could buy online, and it would just be like
yeah,
$20 Australian delivery, buy it
yeah,
from
yeah,
the
yeah,
record shop direct,
yeah,
basically.
yeah,
So we'll
yeah, yeah.
definitely try and sort something like that out. Ben Leese, who runs it, is a musician as well. Fantastic.
The Think stuff was really good, and the vinyl and being a vinyl collector and in Australia, mate, this time of year.
Difficult, right?
Yeah, mate, it's murder. Because if it sits in a hot van for a couple of hours, forget about it, mate. Do you know what I mean? Like
Of course,
it's
yeah.
whoa.
Didn't think of that.
So there's actually a couple of record stores in Perth that have got proper flattening machines. So it just goes between like a press and it's like heated, but it's like a controlled temperature and it's a weight. And it
Right, and
sits on it, and I've
it
charged like
back
$10 a record.
down. Serious.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I charge like $10 a record, I think. But I've done it with,
What
I've
an
got
idea,
two
an
owls.
ingenuity.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my mate Al, he's a shower fitter. Shout out Al if you're listening. And he got me two sheets of shower glass. One of them's proper thick and heavy, and one's a bit thinner. And if you put it between that, like in the sun, that will do it as well. Yeah, that works
Does
a
it as
treat. That
well?
does. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, no, that's quite good. As long as there's a bit of weight on it.
Save
Yeah, it's
yourself
not too bad.
$10, do it in the garden.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Yeah, or otherwise you're going to throw the record away, ain't you? So you might as well. Yeah, because no one likes to see warped records. All right. I want to talk to you as well, Jay. Adventures of Little B. How did that come about? Was that maybe
Mhm.
fatherhood that brought you into that or some other reason?
Yeah, yes and no. I was become obsessed with children's books when my daughter Ren when I was reading her picture books. We just stepped out of picture books actually now, but certainly like Julia Donaldson, who wrote like the Gruffalo and Room on the Broom and stuff like that. She was like Bob Dylan in our house, like lyrical, absolute
Yeah,
wizardry,
yeah, yeah,
brilliant morals. And the
yeah.
books, I just loved them. I literally nearly threw away all of Ren's other books and was just like, I just loved them all. And there was loads of them. So I had this sort of like real Julia Donaldson thing going on. And it was my first gig back after COVID was in Brighton. And two friends of mine, Jamie and Lily, who I'd written a song about. We got this whole sort of backstory anyway, but they basically came up to me. Lily's a fantastic illustrator. And over COVID, they'd created a character. They said, look, we've invented this character. My wife's called Lizzie B. I got my daughter. Said it's not really based on Lizzie or Ren, but there's just or you, but it's the kind of attitude. And they just showed me all these drawings of Little B dancing and Little B ice skating and Little B, or just these wicked drawings of his character. And I was like, we don't really know what to do now, but are you in? Can we give this character to you? And I was like, 100%, let's do it. So then I wrote the words basically. I'd come up with a concept. I was like, we'll do 10 books, 10 songs, box up the whole thing. And it was great. And then the three of us storyboarded the whole lot. Lily drew it all up. I went into the studio and recorded a song for each book. And yeah, and it was just a great project basically. And again, so that came as, what was that? 2 years ago, that was the album again. So making it very different, each album very different. This year's album is a kid's album and it's got a book associated with it. We did a few kids shows around it, and before it was just like the shows themselves. You're playing to 6-year-olds. It just didn't really feel like a gig. Whatever it is I got from gigs, I didn't get from doing the Little B shows. And you didn't go to the pub. Finished at 2 PM. You just drove back. Okay. Cool.
All right, cool. All right, let's talk about your mixtape track choices, then, Jay. The show's called the Mixtape, and when I get guests on, I like to get them to make up an imaginary mixtape playlist, whatever you want to call it, and pick some songs for it, and then we'll have a little bit of a chat about each song. Track one, what I always, even when I kick off the radio show, I always try and go in with an attention grabber to kick it off. What would be your track one attention grabber, mate?
Dylan Warnock and a song called Good Man. And I'd say it's attention grabbing because I remember it's the opening track to his debut album. And I remember never before have I heard one song and know that I was going to like the whole album. It was tragic and funny. And it was just like, it was like a hilarious song that was just, and it was true. Like I heard me and my dad still send each other music regularly. Like we have very similar taste in music. And I don't know where my dad digs this stuff out, but he's better at finding me music than the Spotify algorithms are. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
so like he sent it through with no comment or anything like that. Just listened to the first track and was like, oh, wow. And I'd had a bit of a music. Maybe I was like, it wasn't really buzzing by anything at the time as well. So it was a real fuck. If the rest of it's as good as this song, we're away. I just loved the album. And Dylan was, from that, I became obsessed with the guy, listened to the album nonstop. And then this was like a couple of years ago. And then I messaged him on Instagram drunk one night. I was just like, I had a gig in Seattle and I was going to message him and see if he wants to come and play this gig in Seattle. He lives in Nashville, but I knew that he likes the same writer as me. And he just wrote straight back, yeah, I'd love to. And we did this gig in Seattle. I had a mental night. And then I invited him over to the UK, and we just did a 4-week tour all around the UK. And so it was like, he was over from Nashville, and the nature of the tour was off the beaten track. So we was in Pontefract. We played in Chelmsford, for example. We didn't play in London. We played in Chelmsford, Norwich, and Wrexham. And so it was fascinating seeing the sort of back alley England through the eyes songwriter from Nashville. Is one of my favorite lyricists and storytellers, and it's cool now because I can call him a friend. Like, I'm a big music fan, and I think everybody, if you really love, if you love someone's music, you do want to just meet them, don't you? And just get to know, like you said, with your man Fink. It's just a sort of natural, a natural thing. And I'm really lucky with that because I could just message him like, do you want to come on tour in the UK? And literally sit next to me for a month and a half. And he was like, yeah, I'm up for it. And he was quite complimentary about what I do, which was nice because there was no reason that he would necessarily like what I did. I hope that he did, because it fits in that sort of like storyteller, entertainer, songwriter sort of bag. But yeah, he's a pal now. And so, and it's all because of that first song. So it certainly grabbed my attention.
Yeah. And I think that's the model you've got going there, where you, I guess, gig exchange. Is that probably a good way of looking at it? Like with William as well, and with Dylan.
Exactly
it's a great way of working,
Yeah, I think, and it comes from that admiration of music and the sort of camaraderie amongst songwriters, which is something I've found, throughout ever since I've done this. I only really get to do what I do now because of Frank Turner. I was there when Frank first started, and it was him giving me support gigs and just putting me in touch with people and just hooking up this network that means I get to do what I do. So I worked in venues for a long time as well. So I'd quite often be able to offer people good gigs. And now, like, I curate a few festivals, and there is, if you like someone's music and you're in an opportunity to trade or do this, that, and the other. And it's so, I've met some of my dearest friends through song. And it's that thing, isn't it? People know, if someone likes your music, it feels like they know you. And they do, essentially. And so that's why people are willing just to fling open the doors of their house and just say, you can come on tour, and you come and live here. I like your tunes, you like mine. So it's a great way. Music is a great connector on many levels.
Absolutely. I play a little game with myself, Jay. Sometimes when I get people on, I try and predict, like, at least artists that they might pick for their mixtape. And I was quite surprised not to see any Frank Turner on your playlist. That's how I discovered you, was through Frank Turner. I think I was a bit late. I think Love Iron Song was the album that I've got into. Yeah, I was wondering whether you would pick any Frank Turner. And like we were talking about at the very start, before we started recording, we're talking about me being on brand with the T-shirt. I've got over 100 band T-shirts and and I try and be as on brand as I possibly can with the guest that I'm interviewing with the T-shirt.
Nice,
sometimes even, like, I interviewed Joe from Big Special and I wore my Big Special T-shirt. Sometimes it's that on brand, but I've got a couple of Frank Turner T-shirts and I was going to wear it, and I was doing other stuff and I got caught out and I didn't have time to go and get changed.
Well, but fair dude. It would have been a nice touch, but we'll survive.
I'm gutted now. I didn't do it. Never mind. All right, that's a great choice for your track one, Jay. Track two is song that you sing when you're on your own in the car or the shower, mate.
Oh, I might have read that one wrong.
Okay.
Because I chose The Struts, which is my daughter's favourite song. So when we're in the car, that is all we listen to.
That's it.
That is literally, I think she says The Struts are her favorite band, but we've only listened to their other songs once or twice. Literally, she wants to hear that song. If it's a long drive, she can do it 7 or 8 times. And I will always encourage her to listen to music. So I don't want to be the one that's like, you're not allowed to listen to it. But I was like, again. And I was like, you really want to listen to it again? And she's like, yeah, again. So backwards we go and rock it out. And it's a wicked song. I think she first heard it through the Sing 2, the film. And I was like, I recognize this song. I know the Struts are a great band. So I was like, I played her the actual song and she was like, oh, this is it, more rock. She starts like, I sing that. And I do from that. I know that song backwards, upside down, like inside out, more than I've listened to that, certainly in the last year, more than I've listened to any other song. So we sing, as much, it's not really my thing to over listen to songs. Watching her belt it out at the top of her lungs is great. She can listen to it as much.
The reason I splashed out on a Spotify family subscription was so my kids don't ruin my Spotify Wrapped with Ed Sheeran, and no disrespect to Ed Sheeran or any of the other stuff. But yeah, that's why they've got their own Spotify, so they can listen
Yeah,
to their
that's
own stuff.
exactly what I mean. Mine was the Struts were yeah right in there on my rap this year. It was like the Struts, then Dylan Warner. Because like, what's going on here?
I do a similar thing with my son as well. When he likes to get hold of the Spotify in the car when we're driving and put stuff on, and quite often it's a sample of something, a well-known song, and obviously he's completely
Right.
unaware, and I get such a buzz out of playing him the original
Letting
song
him
that's
know
been
where it's
sampled.
from.
Yeah, he loves that. He's pretty good. My son's got pretty good taste. He likes AC/DC and Nirvana and stuff like that. My daughter's getting there.
Respect.
She's getting there. I'm trying to just gently steer her in the right direction. But yeah, she goes all right. She likes she likes Intergalactic by the Beastie
Beastie Boys.
Boys. And when she was
Right,
little,
yeah,
said,
nice.
"Dad, play the robot song, Dad. Play the robot song." Yeah, he loves that one.
Great.
All right. Track, where did we get to? Track 3, Jay. What's your favourite cover version, mate?
Of the moment is yeah, Bella White doing Neil Young's Unknown Legend. Bella White is a kind of young bluegrass artist, Nashville based. I think she's maybe Canadian, but she's Nashville based. Brilliant, just like her first album. Oh, just so original, like really now, and it takes all the best bits of the past and just sort of like again. That was what me and my daughter used to listen to. My daughter loved Dolly Parton, and I was like, look, yeah, we can listen to Dolly Parton, but we're still listening to a soundtrack that's lived. Like when we listen to Bella White, we listen to new music, we're involving ourselves in someone's story of now. And it's why I've always loved new music, really. And it's trying to explain it for that. And Bella White was just like, again, me and my daughter listen to it a lot. She's just beautiful. And normally covers are really not my thing. Like I actually, sometimes when I've fallen in love with a song and I find out it's a cover, I actually feel a bit pissed. I can feel a bit miffed by that. I feel like covers, because I'm so about the song. There's growing up, I love this guy, Randy Travis, country singer. And I remember when I found out that he hadn't written, because I was like, the life that this guy has lived. Like I believed every word of every song. And it turns out they were all written by different people and probably about fictional events. But I took everyone as absolute gospel. And I was like, he grew up in so many different places. Because when people sing to me, I want to believe. So there's something about that when generally I'm not like, covers, I'll generally swerve them, if you know what I mean. But this one, I obviously love the Neil Young version of Unknown Legend. I heard it. I think like she brings something to it with her beautiful voice, but she doesn't like really try and change it or mess. You don't need to. That's such a simple song anyway. She just does it her way, but respectful of the Neil Young. My absolute worst is when people like hip hop on an acoustic guitar or something like that, where people, there's this big trend of bands where they like mash one band with another. I just like, if people enjoy it, then you fucking go for it. But for me, I'm out of it. I want to believe. I've had a few times with songwriters, like people that I've met, where I've believed their songs to be gospel. There's a great band called Turnpike Troubadours who I absolutely love, and they've got all these songs about this girl Laurie. It's like across the 3 or 4 different albums, he talks about Laurie did this night, and then an album 3 has got the baby, and you're seeing them grow up and hearing their story. And they played in London, and I pushed myself on the support. I managed to get the gig playing with, and I was like, and the first thing I said, the singer comes up, and there's this girl by his side, and I was like, "Are you Laurie?" And they both laughed, and he was like, "Nah, Laurie's, don't exist. It's just a fictional character." And I was like, "Boo!"
So invested.
I'm just trying not to cry at the fact that I was just like, I guess that's fascinating that you've sort of led me along like this. But there's something about it. So covers aren't really my thing, but I did a Bella White one.
Yeah, no, I think for me, they're really hit and miss. There's some cover versions of my favourite songs ever. Chris Cornell's done some covers that are just unbelievably good. And I only found out 6 months ago, It Must Be Loved by Madness is a cover version. And I've loved that song for 40 years. And I only just found out a few months ago it was a cover version.
A lot of the tunes are as well.
One Step Beyond as well. Yeah, it's a cover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have got to change. I'm not certainly not knocking madness. We have been playing. We was playing a Chris Christopherson track on the last tour. When I was in the States, it was when Chris Christopherson died, and felt quite connected to. I used to sit and play Me and Bobby McGee, which is about the wide open road of America. And then my mate from Essex texted me, and he was like, "Chris Christopherson's died," and I was literally driving in the passenger seat of a van, driving this huge road through like Oregon, and I was like. It is sad news. What a great that song has basically transported me here. And that night, I was just like, we're fucking playing Chris Christopherson in honor of what he's done for me tonight. And that ended up sitting in the set. And I'm trying to think of other covers we have. We used to do like a Straits cover. But I think there's room for it in a. If I'm going to do a cover, I want it to be a cover that everyone fucking knows. It's just we're going to do an absolute banger. There's going to be no questions whether the people on stage wrote this song, because everyone already knows it's a Doors song. Yeah. But yeah, it's an interesting thing, isn't it?
Something I've noticed living in Australia and going to gigs for the last sort of 10 or 15 years is there's a bit of a trend sometimes where bands will come and like international bands will come to Australia and they'll cover like an iconic Australian track.
Oh, hang on. I need to.
Do you know what I mean?
I need to change my song. It's not Bella White.
Okay, go on.
It's William Crichton. And he does the what's the name of the song? It's the Anzac Day song. And they come in after Dancing Matilda. Waltzing Matilda. Yeah, William Crichton doing that song. Again, he took me out to Australia. The first time I went, it was Anzac Day. He told me the story. William had, when he started covering the song, and it's super powerful when he does it. It's like, people are reconnecting with their fucking ancestors for it. And he got in touch with the guy because he was like, look, I've been covering your song. And I want you to know, I might record it, and I just want you to know that I'm playing it out. And he went down, and the guy was like, loved the version. And he went out and met him, and like, not gifted, but because the Podc covered it as well. But like, watch on tour with William around Anzac Day in Australia, him playing this song would just like fucking wipe because it's such a tragic song. And so, yeah, sorry, Bella White, I'm going to replace you there with.
No worries, mate. We can change it up. Just quickly, I've got a recommendation for you if you haven't heard of them. Do you know an Australian band called King Stingray? Have you heard of them?
No. I've got a long flight coming up, so I'll look it up.
Check out their version of Yellow by Coldplay. It is amazing. Okay. It really, talk about polish a turd, like it's really good. He starts, their Indigenous Australian band, and they start singing in English, and then halfway through the verse he starts singing in his native language. And I'm a geezer from Essex, right? I'm not even remotely Australian, and never mind Indigenous. And that song, that version, stirs me up. I'm getting goosebumps now just talking about it. It's fucking good. Yeah, King Stingray, they're called. Yellow. They did like a version which is like a live lounge sort of thing that they have on Triple J. Yeah, and that was amazing.
All right, I'll check them out. Yeah, like I said, on my way over.
To create a nice segue into your track 4, recently, because like I mentioned at the beginning, your episode 9. For episode 100, I am interviewing Tommy Lee, not Motley Crue Tommy Lee, but Tommy Lee, who I was his apprentice when I was 16, and he gave me my very first mixtape. And that's how I started off on this sort of thing. So he's my guest for 100, but he interviewed me for 99, and I had to pick my tracks. And my cover version was, I don't know if you familiar with Other Voices, the Irish TV show that they do, like live.
I know of it, mate, yeah.
Tay Tempest did Rainy Night in Soho on there.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely blew my head off. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever heard.
Was it after Shane had died? Was it around? Right, okay.
About 6 or 7 months ago it was on. But it's on YouTube. It's well worth checking out. Yeah, so I just thought I'd mention that because it's a smooth segue from cover versions into your track 4. It's a song you wish you could play to your 18-year-old self.
This was a difficult one for me because I've actually got a song about if I could go back and tell myself anything, what would it be? And the kind of the song kind of says nothing. I just leave him to it. What's the point? Is the attitude. And I would, but yeah, I guess you're going to play a song. So I tried to think of like a song that I would have been in 18 in 98. So I was like, it feels weird that there's nothing you could go back and play me that would be like, they've invented a whole new genre since the 90s. It's not actually, I could maybe, I don't think I would have been, I used to go to a lot of techno raves and shit. I wouldn't have been like, if I went and played dubstep, my mind would have been like, oh my God, like I've never heard anything like this before. I know that was weird thinking that, like there's nothing that could go back and say, by the time you're 45, like the mold is going to be completely broken and this is what we do. So I was just like, I don't know what, Kay has got such an amazing way of speaking the world, basically. And I think Europe is Lost. I also think Europe is Lost would also be the song that if I was like stranded on a desert island, because lyrically, I just think you could listen to it over and always just pick different bits out of it. But I think it's also, it might be a bit alarming to play to an 18-year-old in the 90s. You know, it definitely doesn't paints a pretty bleak picture. There's a lot of bleak realities that we're living through as well. So rather than be alarmist, it might just set me up and be a little bit prepared. But yeah, Kay is a true word wizard, and I guess just passing some of that to my younger self would be a good one.
Absolutely. I'm a huge fan of Kay. I play their stuff on the show all the time. Like I went through a phase of literally every week I would play another track from The Line Is a Curve or whatever. And she's done one with the guy from Fontaine's DC as well recently. That's a really good track. I'm a massive,
I mean, I know Kay from way back when, like when I first saw Sound of Rum performing at Glastonbury, just heard it through a tent. There was probably about 20 people in this little tent, went in and watched their set and became a diehard fan there, walked over, said hello, and just explained I've never really heard anything like that. Did it. I used to actually drag Kate and just ask for poems, which she'd happily sit in the corner of a festival or a pub and just be like, are you working on anything new? And just get a couple of poems out of them and then just wander off into the night, like fully charged. Even the Glasgow, when there was Brexit was happening. And it was like the night before Brexit. I spent the night leading into Brexit with Kay. And then the morning after it happened, I went for breakfast with Billy Bragg, which is quite name droppy, but it was like, if you're going to do it anyway, it's like at Glastonbury. Because everyone was like, Brexit's horrible. I was like, at least we're at Glastonbury. I was like surrounded by my like a night out and breakfast with two of my lyrical heroes. So I was like, and then I had a gig at 11 a.m. that day after it all gone down. So I was like, at least I was trying to take some of their energy to walk out on stage to like everybody at Glasgow going, what the fuck happens now?
I know, yeah. I was obviously already in Australia by then. But yeah, when I was talking earlier about people I thought you might pick for your mixtape, Billy Bragg was another one. I was like, maybe A13, Trunk Road to the Sea. Wow, what a tune.
Again, Billy's obviously a huge inspiration. It was one year at Glasgow. I was writing songs, but seeing Billy play was the first time that I'd actually seen people talk about, again, current events, politics, or for want of a better word, like songs with a meaning and a message. And that literally a year later, I was playing Glastonbury, trying to get a similar thing across. Billy's been great to me over the years. I've played left field a few times. We did a couple of projects back in the day, like getting this thing called Jow Guitar Doors, where he was I was supposed to get a gig in Brixton Prison, but the warden wouldn't let me in. But Billy got in there and we did. So yeah, Billy's a great, when we say about camaraderie amongst the songwriting community, Billy's like a perfect example of that. He's constantly, everyone else I know that does what I do has had a leg up from Billy somewhere along the way as well. He pays attention to what's out there and he helps out where and how he can, which is a lot, and it means a lot.
Yeah, I missed him. He came to Fremantle last year, and I missed him, which was a real shame. I'm a week on, week off dad, and the first thing I look at when a gig gets announced is it my kid? Is it my week is it? Kids?
Right, yeah.
Like tickets are expensive enough, but I don't know what the going rate is in the UK at the moment. But if I want a babysitter, I'm looking at another $140 for a gig, like easy. I mean, on top. So do I like that person enough to shell out for a babysitter as well? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's rough.
Am I there on a week on or a week off?
You're there on a week off, mate. So yeah, I'll be good. I've already arranged to meet up with another mate of mine from Essex that night at the Lucky Shag, which is the best named boozer in Perth. And then I'm
Yeah,
gonna
yeah.
then I'm gonna walk up. Then I'm gonna walk up to the show afterwards. So yeah, it would be good to catch up with you for a beer or something, mate, beforehand if you're about. I'll shoot you a message. But yeah, the Lucky Shag's a good one. It's a
Shag.
great
I like it
boozer. Yeah,
already.
yeah.
Yeah.
They don't have it anymore. They don't. But what they used to have was the wall where the urinals are in the men's toilets used to face out into the bar, and they used to have two-way mirrors there, so you could stand there having a slash, looking out in like, seeing what's going on, like in the boozer.
Wow. Looking at the pub with the dick in your hand sort of
Yeah,
vibe.
but I don't know whether I don't know why, but they've painted over it with some sort of frosting now. So you got
I
I
mean, there's
don't
a
know
lot of
whether
reasons why.
barmaids would get feeling a bit uncomfortable that geezers were standing there staring at them with their dicks in their hands or whatever. But they haven't got it anymore. But it's a great boozer. They do great beers there and lovely foods. Yeah. So my mate Aidie's from Grays as well. And he moved out here about 6 months after me and we catch up periodically and the Lucky Shag's our pub. So
Oh,
yeah,
nice. All right, great. Let's
catching
do
up
it.
that night as well. So I'll try and bring him along, but yeah, we'll see how we go. But I'll definitely be there
Nice.
anyway. Either way. All right, Jay. This is turning into possibly the longest episode I've ever done, but that's all right. Track five.
Well,
Where are we?
quick
Track
fire.
five. Yeah, track five. What's a song you would use to woo like a romantic interest if you were using your mixtape for that?
Hayes Carl, Love Is So Easy. Just a great, like, fun love song. Not too deep. It just talks about we're going out dancing, you look great. And the girl's like, you can tell the girl in the song is just a bit of trouble, a bit of mischief, which has always been my type. And yeah, it's just a wicked, it's super simple. And me and my wife, Lizzie, we was listening to a lot of Hayes Carl when we first met. So it reminds me of that. And I think the message, like, falling in love, is easy. It should be easy. Again, don't overcomplicate it, I think is the message of the song. Yeah, right on. Quick fire though.
When you meet someone and it is easy, I think that's always a good sign. I think if it's hard work.
Exactly. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, Jay. Track six. What's a track that you think is underappreciated? It doesn't get the recognition it deserves.
Stuff of Dreams by Ben Folky Thomas, who is a friend of mine from the kind of London, like, songwriting scene, for want of a better sort of phrase. Years ago, he's a Swedish guy. He was living in London. Brilliant player, brilliant songwriter, amazing performer. We did so many shows together, and I just never understood. To me, he was like one of the greats. He was a big Warren Zevon fan. He was just deep, and just I loved everything about him. And just for some reason, it just would never. He moved back to Sweden. I think he's teaching in Sweden. I'm sure he's still playing his guitar, but Stuff of Dreams, to me, it's an absolute stone cold classic. If it was out, if Warren Zevon would have released it, it would have been like up there with his greats. I really believe it. And it's just, yeah, and I used to see him play it every night and people enjoyed it. But there was, I don't know whether he just had the direct line to my heart and mind, but a lot of other people I know felt the same, but for some reason it never really got to where it deserved. So yeah, that was, as soon as I read that, was a song that sort of stuck straight out. So sure. Go give it a listen, listeners.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So what I do, Jay, on the radio show, as we're talking, I'll be dropping the tracks between.
So here it is, the beautiful Ben Folky Thomas with Stuff of Dreams.
Yeah. And then obviously when I put the podcast out the day after, but I can't put the music in the podcast because it's not my content. So I always put a Spotify playlist.
Yeah, respect.
In the link in the description to the podcast. If you're listening to this on the podcast or the YouTube channel, there'll be a link in the description to Jay's website, my website, socials, and there'll be a link to Jay's Spotify playlist as well. Just to round it out, mate, future plans after the Australian tour, what you got going on into 2025, mate?
Same as ever. I come back. I'll do a UK tour for most of March, touring like the big cities in the UK. So rather than doing the around the houses, which we did with William Crichton, he's coming over from Australia to support on that tour. And then straight to the studio, into festivals, and back out of festivals and start it again, basically doing more UK tours. I'll probably try and get to Europe at some point. Don't know whether I'll manage. I did the US last year. I don't know whether I'll manage to get out this year, but we'll certainly see. And then back to Australia next January, providing all goes well next week.
Awesome. Jay, it's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, mate. Safe travels down under, and I'll see you at the Bird in Northbridge.
Yeah, see you in a couple of weeks. Respect.
Cheers, mate. Thank you so much for listening to the Mixtape podcast. All the links that you will need are in the description below. Link to my Patreon, my guest website and social media, my social media, and the link to the Mixtape tracks playlist as chosen by today's guest. Thanks so much for listening. Until next time.